since we've been taken over. And certain moves let instinct choose their every move to leave us cornered. I know it's true. I sweat and blood and armored skirts, crimson storybook pretty soldiers. As we grow, there's nothing left. Bow and arrow in hand, stand up, follow orders. How cruel have we become not to know what we have done tomorrow? Another one dear, you're not here. We watch them leave our homes. We embrace steel, and now we know that we have control and free our souls. Shooting guns on the workmen crowd. Gay sharp blades, wise and cool.
Life support incoming.
How cruel have I become to know what I have done tomorrow? Another one dear, you're not here. And how we feel, no one can know. Identical, our virtues close and personal. So we have control. Take my soul. Shooting guns on the workmen crowd. Release my pain when handed I'll be your leader to the other side. Now we ride, inclined to die. Like us, I've come to find are seldom blind to life's many horrors. In strength they trust and keep in mind the people lost and left behind. Your soul. Shooting guns on the workmen crowd. They sharp blades, wise and Sister of blades, take my soul. Shooting guns from the one-man crowd. Release my pain when handed It's just a game, not a war. Shooting guns from the one-man crowd. We cannot gain as we lose more. We're not proud what they've done on another's hometown.
Wisp is a powerful support frame who uses plant-like reservoirs and unique forms of trickery. she also has a passive ability that allows her to become invisible to enemies while she's in the air. Wisp is one of the Fey Warframes in the game and is based off of will-o-wisps, otherworldly apparitions from European folklore commonly described as ghostly points of light that could distract unwary travelers and lure them off pathways to their demise. This is Buster, Detwork's first companion who provides damage support and also combat resources during downtime. Wisp's first ability is called Reservoirs, where she can select from 3 choices by tapping 1 and then deploying her chosen reservoir by holding 1. The 3 choices are as follows. The Vitality Reservoir provides motes that increase maximum health and provides regeneration when allies come in contact with it. It's recognizable by its red color and the U-shaped crown it possesses. The Haste Reservoir provides motes that increase movement speed and also the attack speeds of firearms and melee weapons when allies come in contact with it. It's recognizable by its green color and the single arch crown it possesses. The Shock Reservoir provides motes that will occasionally shock nearby enemies when allies come in contact with it. The reservoir itself can also act as a minor crowd control device, as it too will shock enemies that come near it. The reservoir is recognizable by its blue color and the T-shaped crown it possesses. Detworks has an augment mod on Wisp called Fused Reservoir that gives the Warframe a 4th option: to deploy all 3 reservoirs simultaneously in one move at an increased cost of energy. Wisp's second ability is called Will-O-Wisp, where she casts forward a spectral image of herself that can confuse and lure enemies to follow it. Tapping 2 sends the Will-O-Wisp forward, and you can see how long it will continue to travel by a tiny countdown under your reticle. Tapping 2, again, while this countdown is active, will teleport you to the Will-O-Wisp's last location. Wisp's third ability is called Breach Surge, which releases energy that cling to the faces of enemies within range. It has 2 effects. First is temporary blindness. Second is the chance of them releasing harmful radiation to other nearby enemies when they are shot at while blinded. Breach Surge can be used with Will-O-Wisp by tapping 2 and then tapping 3, anytime the countdown for Will-O-Wisp is still active. Wisp and her spectral image will then release Breach Surge at their locations. Breach Surge can also be used with her reservoirs. Touching your reticle to a distant reservoir in line of sight causes energy to suddenly encircle it. This is a signal that you may tap 3 to teleport to that reservoir and release a Breach Surge upon arrival that has double its normal range. On a side note, you can see that ally companions like Buster here can also receive mote buffs from Wisp's reservoir, making them stronger, faster, and more empowered. The 4th and final ability of Detworks Wisp is Resonator. This creates an indestructible musical ball that taunts enemies and inflicts blast damage to them while under its influence. Resonator is an ability that originally belongs to the Warframe Octavia, but Detworks chose to use the Helminth system to apply it to Wisp. The ball is uncontrollable, but does its job extremely well, providing an extra measure of crowd control for support and survivability. The Resonator doesn't get the benefits of Wisp's reservoirs, as it would make the object too overpowered. Detworks Mid-Game Wisp has mods set for improved range that greatly benefit shock motes and breach surge abilities without taking too much away from haste buffs. This build works for all types of Warframes Detworks may end up grouping with, but is especially useful for melee attacking frames and their companions. At this time, Wisp is using the tri-barrel Supra Vandal, configured to hit with strong viral and puncture damage in order to take on current Nightwave challenges. The Euphona pistol serves as her secondary weapon and is also set up to inflict viral damage along with high crit chance and crit damage. For melee combat, Ditworks Wisp carries the Oma Tonfa set, which delivers strong gas and electric statuses to enemies. Oma damage is further enhanced by a fitted Vexi Argi Yada Riven mod. Buster is a Sahasa Kubro, modded to be tanky and provide resources with dig and fetch mods. He is more of a support companion than anything else. Wisp is very easy to use. Simply plant your reservoirs, take its offered buffs and attack. The rest of the team will get theirs once they come in contact with your reservoirs. Wisp is allowed 6 active reservoirs at a time. Typically, Detworks plants 2 fused reservoirs at different locations, but there's plenty of options for the CC build he uses. One can plant a fused reservoir and then 3 shock reservoirs, or plant 3 haste reservoirs and 3 shock reservoirs. It's all dealer's choice. Wisp is a natural and powerful force multiplier, so any reservoirs placed on the field will be of help.
Titania is a small but mighty frame that can be used for solo, support, or farming operations. She's one of the Fey Warframes in the game and is based on William Shakespeare's play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. In the play, Titania was wife to Oberon, king of the fairies. Titania's passive generates health for herself and nearby allies every time she casts an ability. This is Tugpee, a companion who boosts defense and offers occasional crowd control in battle. Detworks typically leaves him to watch over her until she has enough energy to be effective in Razorwing form. More on that later. The first ability of Detworks' mid-game Titania is called Spellbind. By tapping 1, she hits a distant location containing individuals with enchanted dust. Enemies in that area are temporarily disarmed and unable to act as they float helplessly off the ground and are vulnerable to attack. Allies that were hit with the enchanted dust are cleansed of negative status effects and are immune to them until Spellbind expires. When the ability expires, enemies previously armed cannot attack until they pick their weapons up off the floor. Holding 1 instead of tapping will have Titania center the enchanted dust on herself rather than a distant location. Allies and enemies affected emit faint energy butterflies that flutter about them. Titania's second ability is called Tribute. Tapping 2 cycles through 4 choices while holding 2 activates the chosen tribute. Titania will strike an enemy backwards and cause a floating shadow of itself to remain suspended in place. The shadow will have the symbol of the chosen tribute above it. Allies or Titania can gain the tribute's benefits by simply making contact with the floating shadow. Those affected by a tribute emit faint energy butterflies that flutter about them. Titania's tribute options are as follows. Thorns creates an aura around the recipient that grants 50% damage reduction and also reflects 50% of damage received back to attackers regardless of distance. Other allies can receive these benefits as well if they are near the recipient of the Thorn tribute. Dust creates an aura around the recipient that reduces the chance of enemies hitting them by 50%. Full Moon increases the recipient's offensive damage by 75% and increases their health and armor by 50%. Other allies can also receive these benefits if they are near the recipient of the Full Moon tribute. Entangle creates an aura around the recipient which causes enemies in their range to have their movement reduced by 25%. If you have a Titania in your group and you see 1 or more floating shadows with symbols during battle, make an effort to touch them because it's her providing buffs for the team. Titania's third ability infuses an enemy with mesmerizing light, making that enemy momentarily invulnerable as it floats helplessly in place with a swarm of her razor flies. The infused enemy acts as a lantern, pacifying other hostiles that get within range of its light and drawing them to it. These charmed enemies then suffer heavy damage as they are drawn in. Titania can have up to 4 lanterns active at the same time, and once the ability expires or is cancelled by holding 3, all active lanterns are no longer invulnerable and detonate, dealing tremendous damage to themselves and remaining enemies in their areas. Titania's final ability is what she's famous for in-game. Upon activation, she shrinks down to 1/4 of her original size and is joined by her deadly razor-winged butterflies. The only weapons she can use in this razor wing form are her exalted dual machine pistols and exalted heavy sword. Companions previously with her will be safe, but also unavailable while this form is active. Titania gains high evasion capability, rapid movement, and can unleash rapid attacks from either of her exalted weapons. She will also be able to keep casting her first 3 abilities as well. Her entourage of razorflies can attack nearby enemies but are able to be killed themselves. For every tribute that's active from her second ability, Titania will gain 1 extra razorfly to fight by her side, up to a maximum of 10. Slain razorflies can be refreshed by exiting and re-entering razor wing form. Detworks mid-game Titania is modded to keep her in razor wing form for as long as possible. With the Augment mod, Razor Wing Blitz, her movement and attacks as a pixie become even more deadlier with each activation of her other abilities on the battlefield. Titania's assigned primary weapon for her natural form is the Gotva Prime. This automatic rifle, once used by ancient Grineer soldiers, is tailored for high crit chance and viral damage to its targets. The Sonicore serves as Titania's pistol, capable of blasting enemies with a mixture of gas, cold, and impact damage. For melee, the early game, yet reliable Broken Scepter is brought along mainly for sentimental reasons. Each hit from it delivers impact, blast, and corrosive damage to its targets. The weapons that will be used the most are Titania's exalted weapons, which are only available in her Razor Wing Pixie form. The first of these are her dual machine pistols, Dex Pixia Prime, whose mods give it the ability to inflict strong toxin, slash, and blast damage. Diwata Prime is the name of her exalted heavy sword, and it's currently configured to strike down enemies with electric and viral damage. Diwata is originally the name of mythological spirits that inhabit the forests of the Philippines. Tugpi is a Roxaku bro that has various traits to help Warframes under its charge. Among several things, his Protect feature enables him to replenish low shields, and his Howl can strike fear into enemies and cause them to scatter for several moments. Tugpi means patch in the Tagalog language of the Philippines. As Titania starts a mission, crowd control and kill by casting 1 or 3 at clusters of enemies. You can also cast 2 on single targets to get shadow buffs from them. Keep using these tactics to get Titania's energy level up so she can change into her smaller, deadlier form. When Titania enters Razor Wing form, she can increase her move and attack speed by 25% each time she activates any of her other abilities. Her limit is 4 activations, which will get her an insane 100% boost. Titania's high speed makes her excellent for farming, as she can cover all 3-dimensional axes fast and have little trouble dispatching anything that gets in her way.
Oberon is an old favorite of Detworks, possessing a good balance across offensive, defensive, and support power. He's one of the Fey Warframes in the game, named after the King of Fairies from Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. Detworks' choice for Oberon's appearance was influenced by the White Stag, a rare pale-pelted deer that appears in Arthurian legend. Oberon's passive provides a 25% increase to the health, armor, and shield links of allied companions. In addition, his companion receives 1 instant revive per mission. ET-14034 is Oberon's current companion. He is a rescue Predacite who offers damage support for his master. Oberon's first ability is Smite. Deadly energy is focused into a target, then Oberon commands it to explode outward, damaging the target and surrounding enemies. It's common to save this attack for special adversaries in battle, as its radiation damage has a chance to temporarily turn the strong enemy against its allies. Hallowed Ground is Oberon's second ability, where he blesses the ground before him, causing plants to suddenly come to life for a brief period. These plants inflict damage over time to enemies in their territory and make allies immune to negative status effects so long as they remain standing in their glowing presence. This ability can be cast multiple times to cover large areas or to stack on top of each other in order to increase damage output in a smaller specific area. Oberon's third ability creates a strong regeneration field centered on himself, which will constantly heal him, and allies that come within his range. Allies that becomes fully healed through this renewal ability will then have any negative status effects cleansed from their frame. This aura is a channeled ability that slowly drains Oberon's energy while in use. Oberon's final ability is called Reckoning, whereupon he lifts enemies within range into the air and violently slams them to the ground, dealing heavy damage. Those killed have a chance of spawning red health drops at their location. Those that survive emit an intense flash of light that temporarily blinds surrounding enemies that were unaffected by the initial cast of Reckoning. Additionally, enemies that were slammed down on any patch of hallowed ground and managed to survive will have their armor permanently reduced. Detworks has his mid-game Oberon modded out to be a tanky and active support. The Equilibrium mod and Oberon's third ability, Renewal, are his main tools of survival. Tanagantaka Prime serves as Oberon's primary weapon. It is a semi-automatic status crossbow, modded to inflict corrosive and slash damage. The Azima pistol takes the spot of Oberon's secondary weapon, capable of automatic fire and ejecting its disc-like magazines to act as short-term stationary turrets if needed. The Xaku whip is being used for melee, however, its mod status is still incomplete. Currently, it's capable of inflicting strong viral damage. ET-14034 is a rescued Pharaoh Predacite that offers strong slash, toxin, and viral damage support. He possesses synth mods that help obtain red drops to power his Oberon's regenerative renewal aura. With low energy, a good way to start is by spreading hallowed ground and fighting on top of it for extra protection. Typically, activating Renewal is fine when Oberon's energy is around 10%. Renewal's energy drain won't be too much of an issue thanks to the Hunter Adrenaline mod, which gives Oberon some energy back every time he takes health damage. And taking health damage won't be a problem, since Renewal is already up and continuously healing. It's a cycle that's both harmonious and powerful. Kill aggressively to get red drops for Oberon's Equilibrium mod to convert. As convenient as the Hunter Adrenaline mod is, Oberon shouldn't completely rely on it to keep his energy up. If all goes well, Oberon's energy should be constantly recharging due to constantly being damaged, but never to the point of going down because of Renewal's protection.
Xaku has no official gender, as it's actually composed of 3 lost and broken Warframes that were once beneficiaries of the Entra T family. Beneath Xaku's fragments is an arboriform skeletal structure whose makeup is similar to the root-like organic energy tendrils found in ancient Orokin structures. Xaku is currently the only Warframe able to naturally deal void damage to enemies. This is Gabby 2.0, a damage support companion able to split into 3 smaller versions of itself. Xaku's first ability is called Zada's Whisper. This strengthens all of its weapons with void damage to which Sentience and the Shadow Stalker are particularly weak against. Grasp of Lock is Xaku's second ability, and what it's famous for. The frame causes void tendrils to appear at a location and steal firearms from the grasp of enemies within range. Affected enemies are reduced to melee combat while the firearms are converted into void copies that follow Xaku and blast any threats within reach. If this ability is activated around enemies that have no firearms, it will make copies of Xaku's primary weapon and function as intended. Xaku's third ability is called The Lost and comes with 3 options. These options were once the abilities of the lost and broken Warframes, which now make up Xaku's exterior form. Accuse can stun a cluster of enemies and then cause them to fight for Xaku for a short period of time. Gaze traps one enemy in the clutch of void tendrils, making it temporarily invulnerable. While in this state, it emits an aura that reduces armor of other enemies that enter its range. Meanwhile, shooting the invulnerable trapped enemy causes the void tendrils to store damage, which will later be dispensed all at once to the trapped target once Gaze expires. Xaku can have 2 Gaze attacks active at the same time. Deny is a void beam attack that damages targets and temporarily suspends any survivors in the air. Xaku's final ability is known as the Vast Untime, where its outer shell is shed in a destructive blast, damaging nearby enemies and making them more vulnerable to void damage. This leaves Xaku's skeletal form exposed, granting increased movement speed and dodge capability. Also, while the Vast Untime is active, the duration countdown of Xaku's other abilities are paused, allowing them to function longer than intended. The Vast Untime can be extended through reactivation as long as there is energy available to do so. Detworks' mid-game Xaku has been modded to provide as much range, power, and duration as possible. The Bazmu rifle it carries mainly inflicts corrosive damage, while the gun's alternate fire mode for close-quarters combat hits with gas damage. Fully depleting the Bazmu's magazine activates an innate defense mechanism, which heals its user as the gun quickly recharges. The AcuCore is an excellent backup pistol that can harm multiple targets with radiation and viral damage. For melee, Xaku is equipped with a Slash Toxin Cerata possessing a useful Tempi Argiata Riven mod. Gabby 2.0 is a robotic hound that provides damage support using melee attacks, shockwaves, electric sparks, and splitting into smaller versions of itself. Detworks typically starts by activating Grasp of Lock to acquire guns while reducing the effectiveness of their owners. The next few moments are spent fighting for energy in order to activate the Vast Untime, which will halt the expiration countdown of Grasp of Lock. The combination of Xaku's stolen guns and its evasive skeletal form increases chances of survival while the fight for more energy continues. 50% energy or more is Detworks' comfort zone. At that point, he'll start using his lost abilities to increase efficiency, mainly gaze to create large areas that reduce enemy armor. Maintaining energy level and also keeping Grasp of Lock and the Vast Untime active is all there will be to using Xaku from then on.